Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is June 5th, 2025, and this is another edition of the MSP Initiative, MSP Talk. It's June, guys. You got like a little bit longer, and we're definitely at the midway of the year, right? The end of this month, 6 months gone. Summertime for most of us on this side of the world. I'm looking forward to the summertime. I feel like for some reason here in the Northeast, I'm based out of Philly. For people who watch this, you know that. But I feel like up here in the Northeast, it's been super wet, super cold, super rainy, and I can't remember like a weekend without dry for a long, long time. So don't know what's happening. Feels more like Minnesota than it does, I don't know, Pennsylvania, but I digress. MSPinitiative.com. That's everything's posted there. We have two upcoming community events. One is in cooperation with our friends at Datto Kaseya. We are doing a community block party at DattoCon Dublin for the third year in a row. Awesome, awesome, awesome place. This is, I believe, their last year in Dublin, and then they're moving to another city next year. It's been great. So if you're headed to DattoCon Dublin, we're on the first night of the event. Come and enjoy. We have a block party for you. Sign up ahead of time, skip the line. And then for the first time, actually last year, I was invited to do a podcast with the Brain Trust over at Roost, our friends down in Tampa. They are doing their third, I believe this is their third, not more than third a partner conference, which is agnostic. It's called Flow. Down in Tampa at the end of this month. We'll be there as well. And this is our first community block party down in Tampa. And thank you to the good people down there. They've been very, very, very collaborative. And the people in the sandbox that are that way, good, more power to you. I wish more people were that way. Like actually trying to do stuff for everyone rather than under the guise of doing stuff for everyone. I digress. I'll stop there. So mspinitiative.com, you'll find all of that. And we will be announcing, it's not even posted yet, but I'm super excited for this one. And I'm sure our guest will have, like an eyebrow go up here today. We're going to be announcing the Channel Sports Tour. Okay. So you can laugh at me all you want. This is the first time he's been on here since the Super Bowl. But we are doing multiple NFL games in many cities this year, channel events, Kansas City, Green Bay, Dallas, um, Los Angeles, and even Dublin. The first NFL game in Dublin. I'm excited for that one. So um, might as well let the NFL do what the NFL does. They are the kings of the sports world, and we are going to now expand that to our sandbox for IT and MSP land. So stay tuned for more information about that. Super excited. First time, we're putting that together and pretty pumped for it. Without further ado, and this is not the first time we've talked to this gentleman, but I wish we did it more. Every time I talk to him, even off camera, it's always exciting conversation. We bring back Mr. Rob Scott. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, George. How are you? I feel like I'm sitting at a bar in some hotel somewhere.
Isn't that the idea? Isn't that the whole point of these, right? Like I never, people I actually have had a couple people, even recently, they're like, so how do you prep these people for your calls? I was like, I don't. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, we just talk. They're like, well, how do you know what to talk about? I'm like, the same stuff I would talk to them about if I saw them on the curb. Like, if you can't do that, it must be boring. I like, you can't be scripted every time, Rob.
I get it, man. I get it. And it never is scripted with you. And it's great to be here. And I would tell you, I think, the eyebrow raised. I think experiential event, smaller, more intimate, more relationship building events is the future. If you think about Monjur's approach in the channel, it's sporting events, it's recreational events, it's museums, it's experiences where you can connect and bond. And the my belief, and I'm sure we're going to start talking about AI very quickly, but my belief is in the age of AI, two things persist: brand and relationships.
Mm-hmm. I
So
can't argue anything there. I mean, here's the reality, and let's talk about it. You went there. I'm drawing right there, Rob. not picking on anyone. I'm not even saying any names because you all know them. Does it seem like the large event doesn't seem to be as well attended as like even 2 years ago? Like it just seems to be shrinking for some reason. Do you see what I'm seeing, or am I crazy?
No, I totally agree with you. I think that there are notable exceptions. There was a huge increase in the size of the a show that was in California recently. The a show that was in Dallas recently was larger than expected and performed better than any show we've ever attended. But overall, show attendance is down in a lot of markets, and prices are way up. So if you think about it, and you and I have had this conversation many times, right? As you know, founders of bootstrap businesses were like, we can't afford to pay, 50 G's to have a tiny little booth,
Mm-hmm.
right? And especially for Monjur, which charges a relatively low monthly fee. That's why we created it, to make legal more affordable. We can't make any money if the prices are out of whack to what's there. And what we're seeing is a lot of shows now, small businesses are going to shows to pitch big businesses that buy displays. Like I was at a show in California, and more people were pitching me than I was pitching.
Hmm. That seems counter to the whole point.
And I also think businesses are cracking down on travel expenses. Uh,
Oh,
I
okay.
think that, the ability to take time off, the ability to, go to $300 to $500 hotels, to, getting $40 Ubers and eat $25 sandwiches. Guys like us of our age are not really comfortable sending people all over to do that unless
It,
it's making money.
it adds up
Yeah.
really, really quickly. Like, not putting you on the spot here. If you want to pass, totally fine. But like, as I've gone through my business journey, right? And I've gone through different, things over time, three different companies. It's been very clear to me, and I never went to law school, Rob. They always say I'm a good lawyer on TV. So let's just say I went to George Lawyer on TV school. Like representing things properly seems to be very critical, even more now than ever, right? Like nobody wants to hear bait and switch. Nobody wants to hear misadvertised. Nobody wants to hear, well, that's not exactly how you said things. And I wouldn't have decided what I decided if you were very clear on what you said. And like that, that could be for anything, right? It could be for an MSP with their services. It could be for an event asking you to sponsor something. Like it just seems like the nuance between, well, like again, not pointing anyone out specifically, but this is a chronic problem. Since we're on the topic of events, let's talk about events on this round. Well, there's going to be 7,000 MSPs at our event. What does that mean? Is that 7,000 attendees? Is that 7,000 unique MSP companies? Is that the janitor? Like, what does that number actually mean? Like, why? I don't understand why people aren't more clear. Oh, I actually do understand it. Well, if it sounds like a big number, you'll buy probably.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't think that that's okay. Why aren't people more definitive in what they're actually selling here?
Well, I think at some point they don't know, right? You're asking them to predict the number of attendees that's going to happen in the future. So
Sure.
I would be more comfortable with, let's talk about the demographics of the people who attended last year. Let's go to the actual number. A lot of these shows say 2,500 people. If it's a bigger vendor, half of them could be their employees. So
So why aren't they, like maybe it's just bad training, maybe they're just not supervising what's being said, but like if I was doing that job, I would say over the last 3 years, here's how we've performed. Here's what our goal is for this year. We don't know where we're at. I can tell you as we're getting closer what that looks like, but I don't want to promise you a number. That's never what I hear.
it's just like in software sales, George. Does your software do that? A hundred
Sure,
percent of
I
the
make
time it does it, right? And
coffee and
never,
a
never
starter
heard a
bun.
software sales guy say his software doesn't do that.
Sure.
right? And I think that's part of it as well. I also think that in the event space, it's all about relationships.
Sure.
If more and more now with Monjur, if we don't have a relationship with you by now in managed services, we're not likely to have one with you,
Hmm.
right? And so we're focusing on doubling down on the events that work the best and working with the partners that we feel comfortable with. It's not so much about the paperwork, it's about the relationship. In one case, I have a good relationship with an event platform, big vendor. There was a problem with the paperwork and they made it right on a business level. So I think overall, what we're seeing in terms of the changing legal landscape is that MSPs are getting sued way more. They're getting the finger pointed at them way more. They're getting bullied by customers who say, even though I haven't paid you in 90 days, I want my credentials. And if you don't give them to me, I'm going to go get a TRO against you.
Hmm.
So that combined with the emerging threat landscape for cybersecurity, where every cybersecurity incident is the MSP's fault in the mind of the user, you've got a situation where if you're not managing your risk with good insurance, with good contracts, with the right maturity around cyber hygiene, then on a risk adjusted basis, you might as well close shop.
Okay. Let's go there. So I've run an MSP. Okay. I want to understand why in 2025, and I'm sure you have different opinions because you represent a lot of MSPs, you talk to a lot of MSPs. Well, here, talk to this former MSP. Why would I in 2025 resell Microsoft services and worry about somebody paying me late when Microsoft doesn't give a damn whether I paid it, like whether I collected money or not? They're going to get their money or they're going to shut me off. They're going to shut you off, right? Why wouldn't I just have the end customer go and pay Microsoft directly? And when they don't pay Microsoft on time, Microsoft shutting them off. And then I can put my hands up and say, you just got to pay your bill. Like, I'm not even, like, I don't know what to tell you. You don't pay the internet company, they shut you off. You don't pay the power bill, they shut you off. You don't pay Microsoft, they shut you off. What do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, it makes good sense. We tell our clients on that point, the vast majority of which resell Microsoft, both through CSP and SPLA. We tell our clients that they need to avoid being in that position. And essentially what that position is you're giving your client a discount and simultaneously putting yourself on the hook for their performance. For the margin you're getting, that's the dumbest thing in the world. So
Okay,
you
we're
eat,
on the same page.
yeah, so you either, as you allude to, have the client sign directly with Microsoft or make them prepay or
Okay,
charge them full price.
okay, all
So
right.
there's a
So let
number of
me
different options.
let me invert it. Let me invert it. Ready? Let's say I'm an MSP. Customers pass due on their bill. And you're trying to get them to make the shift. Be like, hey, I can't, I'm not a bank anymore. I can't be the credit card for you anymore, right? Like, you owe me several months of back billing, and you may or may never pay me. But I either need to shift you directly to Microsoft so that, if anything that happens in the future moving forward, it's between you and them, right? Like, whatever the balance is between me and you, let's put it off to the side. Like, starting tomorrow, you're going to start paying Microsoft directly. And if they tell you no, or they don't cooperate with that shift, now you're in this rock and a hard place. You have their data on Microsoft. You have this balance. You don't want to keep on incurring more cost. If it's not defined well in the agreement, which we can talk about in a moment, and you said like, well, how would you handle getting that customer to either put up or shut up? Meaning like properly, safely, and with notice, I want to get you access to your data and shut off the lights so I stop incurring more costs. What would I know it's a theoretical, what would you suggest somebody does?
Well, it all depends on having the right agreements. And I want you to know I've represented several MSPs who got themselves into a lot of trouble by suspending service.
Mm.
It's not looked upon favorably by the courts.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like it when you threaten to withhold credentials to get your money paid. They think somehow that's sinister. I personally don't agree with that, but that I just want to warn everybody that that's out there, and I handled several of those cases, and you have to be very clear about how you suspend services. That being said, if your contract is clear and they're past due, you send them a notice that cites the contract and says, you're past due. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't pay by X, Y, and Z day, we will be suspending services on that day. If we suspend services, that may have the following impacts on your business that we will not be responsible for. And then you
Mm-hmm.
list those out. And then you send them, or you have your lawyer send them, and that usually starts the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
We had one client in that same situation recently. The client was 90 days behind.
Mm-hmm.
They were demanding to get out of their contract without paying an early termination fee. And they said, my guy is coming to your office. You will give him my credentials or I'll take you to court.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote them a nasty letter that said, you're in breach of our agreement. You haven't paid. All services are suspended. If you want us to give you the credentials, you're going to need to pay and give us a waiver that says we're out.
Mm-hmm.
3 days later, I get a call from their lawyer. 2 weeks later, my client's got all his money and we're good.
I wish that was the case in every, but
But a lot of it has to do with the agreements, George.
yeah. All right. Assume the agreement isn't good or isn't there. Now what?
Now you're screwed. I mean, you have no right to do anything. You can't hold their credentials. You've got no right to charge them the balance that they agreed to under the agreement, because without, you shook hands and said it's a 3-year deal. That's not going to hold up.
So let me throw a hypothetical out there. Hey, Mr. Customer, we have some stuff for you, virtual machines in Azure. You haven't paid your bill. You don't want to migrate directly to be paid, paying Microsoft directly. We can no longer incur costs. We've sent you several notices. You haven't reacted. We're going to take your data. We're going to drop it into escrow. Okay. So, like, I didn't delete anything. It's properly captured. But as of this date, the electricity is going off. We've sent you multiple notices. We haven't heard from you. We're at the end of the line. Does that sound about right, or am I off?
I would not offer to. I would not offer to get your, to be involved in taking a copy for them.
Mm,
I would tell them, if you wish to secure a copy of your data before this termination happens, log in and do it.
mm.
I would not offer to
Because then
move it.
you're not performing additional work.
Exactly.
Okay.
Services under the agreement have been suspended.
And
You've
I'm
been,
not gonna, you have access, but that's on you after you have
you're going to
access.
have access for a period and then it's going to be terminated.
Got it. Okay, guys, so Rob, not putting any customer names. I don't expect you to do that. You're a good lawyer. But we've talked about scenarios where you've had to go to court and defend your customers, even with the agreement. And I remember it's a while back, but you said it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars of man hours of your time, your firm's time, to go into a courtroom in New York, in Texas, wherever it was. And even though the agreement says, hey, you agreed to this, I'm not here it is. We knew about this ahead of time. The end was talked about in the beginning. Still, you had the courts basically say, we don't care about your agreement. Am I saying that right?
I don't think I ever had a court say I don't care about your agreement.
Okay.
I would say that
Then
that's
why
not.
all the litigation?
So the problem with litigation is this: any idiot with a filing fee can bring a case.
Sure.
So you wind up with cases where cases are being brought, not based on the merit of the case, but for strategic reasons.
Okay.
Okay. So in that particular case, my client was a MSP vertically focused on financial institutions located near New York City with a lot of clients on Wall Street. They were representing a financial institution as a managed service provider. They recommended to that managed service, to that financial institution, to architect a cloud redundant architecture for their facility.
Mm-hmm.
The founder declined that architectural recommendation and went with on-site, on-prem storage that was dependent on uninterruptible backup supplies because of the electricity.
Okay.
And sure enough, the electricity went out and a battery backup failed and the whole facility was down for a day.
Okay.
And they sued my client for $220,000.
Wow.
The agreement said MSP is not responsible for hardware failures.
Mm,
Cause of the incident, unequivocally a battery failure on a battery backup that my client serviced under warranty in line with the time in the SLA.
mm-hmm.
So those are the types of things that happen, George. People sue people when they get angry. They sue people when they think it's unfair, and they sue MSPs because they don't understand the forensics. You're my IT guy. I had a problem. I had a loss. I hired you so to take care of my IT. Something went wrong. I'm suing you. I mean, they have this very simplistic, twisted view of managed services.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why MSPs need very good, very clear-cut agreements that dynamically update, that make sure they're staying compliant with new risks that we learn about as the market evolves, and to stay current with an ever-shifting landscape of regulations.
Okay. Let me go to another. I gave you a real world, right? Or a real world hypothetical, right? On
Mhm.
the customer not paying their bill, you're trying to get out of the line of fire. Let me go to another real world. Ready? Hypothetical, but I don't think too far off from the truth. Vendor doesn't invoice you for months. All of a sudden, you get one big balloon invoice in one shot. Of course, you turn around and once you get the invoice, you turn around and invoice your customer, right? Like, argument could be made, well, why didn't you invoice me over time? The countering argument would be, well, I didn't have the actual invoice, so I didn't know what to invoice you. Once I got it, I sent it. And then the end customer says, well, I don't have it, like, I can't pay all of this at once. You've jammed multiple months into, a net 30 or whatever it is, and now I can't afford to pay you all at once. Now what? Your agreement says they have to pay on time. Their argument is you didn't bill them timely. The countering argument is, well, I wasn't billed timely. Then customer doesn't care. What do you do in that situation?
That's a tough one. I think that if it was happening, intermittently and it was an occasional thing, then you eat it for the client because you say, look, I understand this is inconvenient for you. Let's break it up over 3 months, whatever. They technically owe it to you legally, but are you really going to fight with them over the cost of capital for a couple of months of services for that vendor? Probably not. I would recommend, as a gesture of goodwill, to do it with the client. I would consider going to the vendor and saying, if you can get it into the agreement, that if they fail to invoice you and the invoices are not submitted within a timely manner, they're waived on their part. I mean, there's a lot of MSAs that I've seen that say, if you don't bill us on time, you're waiving it. Like, you can't
Hmm.
just come back later and months later. It's like, oops, what about this bill?
Okay.
So legally, however, unless it's in the contract, the MSP does not have a very strong defense against the vendor to say, I'm not paying that, because
Mm-hmm.
realistically, the vendor could say the MSP benefited from not having to pay. So, same argument to the customer. Wait a second. You're saying that you got to hold your money longer and now I owe you more time? That doesn't make much sense. But again, from a business perspective, I would say make the customer happy. If they rub them the wrong way, um, make it right, smooth it over. But economically and legally, I don't agree with it.
Okay. And I love the nuance, by the way. If you're listening to this or watching it, Rob seems like a real practical guy. I know him to be, by the way, but take it for what it's worth. He's trying to tell you, like, there's the law, and then there's, like, practical business relationships, right? Sometimes these two things do not necessarily, agree with themselves, but, like, big picture, either you're going to continue working with someone, or it could be the end of working with someone if you don't look at things, sometimes through a different lens. So I appreciate that, by the way. Um, let's get into your favorite topic, or one of them, AI. I know we've talked about this not so long ago. It's probably almost 6 months, maybe
Yeah.
7, since the last time we talked about it. So let's see how much has changed. So what's changed is the technology is moving at a rapid clip, right? Like 6 months in this world, it's like a whole different universe, right? So things are getting smarter. It's definitely not perfect. I don't know if it'll ever be perfect, but it's moving in a direction where it's becoming more, it feels real. I don't know how else to quantify that other than that's how I would say it. It feels more real. But when you're talking with the, maybe you won't like this description, but I'm going to use it anyway. This is my personal description. I believe AI from a human interaction standpoint is just the 2025 version of what we used to call the answering machine. It's a smart
Totally.
answering machine, but it's the answering machine, right? Talks back to you. And so I used the reference, and I still think it's a valid reference because it was 2024, it wasn't that long ago, where, multiple fast food chains, not just McDonald's, which is what I referenced back when we last talked, but now Wendy's has tried to displace the actual order taker on the mic at the drive-through with the AI machine. And they've both since stopped that pilot. Maybe 6 months from now, maybe in 2026, enough would have jumped forward and matured that it would work. But today, two different major chains have tried it, two different major chains have stopped it. Do you think, and maybe this is a business question, do you think AI should really, truly, at today, be on the front line of the end customer interaction?
I don't think AI is good at relationships. I think people hold relationships. AI is not capable of empathy. You're not going to most well-adjusted humans are not going to fall in love or really build strong emotional connections with AI, right? Uh, but AI is transforming the way work gets done and automating workflows in ways that will blow your mind. Think you use the answering machine analogy. At Monjur, you call Monjur, you speak to Chelsea. Chasey is an AI assistant based on ChatGPT and 11 labs that we train. She could transfer you to any department. She can tell you what we do. She can, do a lot of things that, voice prompt systems used to be able to do. Press 1 for accounting, press 1, but they also answer the phone 100% of the time. They so that's a use case that AI voice assistance is viable. It's live now. If you're an MSP and you're not offering AI voice assistance to customers, you should consider it because we use it at Monjur. Our Loop product that we're building is going to have a voice mode as part of one of its interactions. And I don't sell hamburgers, George, but I do legal work. And I would tell you that in 6 months, the time that it took for me to represent an MSP selling their business that's, a $5 to $8 million company to negotiate the stock purchase or redemption agreements 6 months ago took 10 hours. Now with Loop, I spoke to the client yesterday for the first time. He has walked through all the clauses and approved them one by one, made edits, and is now following up with my colleague the next day. So the capabilities of Gen AI and the implications for legal, specifically for Monjur, are night and day today, George, compared to when we talked 6 months ago.
Okay. So there's been numerous instances where this isn't you. I've read personally, where a law firm or someone even representing themselves in a court of law used AI and came out with a slap on the wrist because the information that they were giving was not actually true. And then when they asked them, why would you give us false information? The response was, well, the system provided this output and we just took it on fact. And it's like, well, the case that you're referencing doesn't exist, never happened. Do a Nexus search or Next Law, Westlaw search, whatever, Pacer, whatever. It doesn't exist, never happened. Why didn't you check? Like, that's the type of concern I would have here. What's your response to that?
Well, first of all, this demonstrates two things. One, AI tools hallucinate things.
Mm-hmm.
They report mock trial outcomes as real cases. They hallucinate cases that never happened. And that's why our product is called Loop, because it's a lawyer in the loop, human in the loop solution for legal. That lawyer got sanctioned, rightfully so,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to be a moron to let AI do legal work. The legal work that our AI does is legally prepared by lawyers. It's our
Mm-hmm.
documents, our templates, our alternative clauses. It doesn't resort to made up crap that the AI generates. And so when I think about AI for legal, I think about responsible AI. I think about automating things where, we've got pre-approved fallback clauses so the customer doesn't have to check with us. But ultimately, there's a lawyer in the loop for every aspect. And the lawyer is still supervising the work. The clients are leveraging the AI to get things done faster based on templates provided by the lawyers within the tool, but they get to self-service. The tool is always available. They can work on a legal matter in the middle of the night. If I'm in court, they don't have to wait for me. If I'm at a conference, they don't have to worry that I can't get to it. So that's really the power of AI that we're seeing, real time within our organization. And I think other organizations are starting to see similar impacts of AI. They're starting to get some of these early wins, like an answering machine. You say that in a limited way, but a lot of people have spent a lot of money on answering machines and their business equivalents, PBX systems and call routing systems. All that's about to go away. All that's about to be replaced with AI voice solutions.
So let's, since you use the word hallucination, it's a real thing. I want to spend a little bit of time on that. So not long ago, I believe it was 2024. I could go back and look it up, but I read an article that a couple of airlines were using AI bots. I've ranted for a long time how Frontier has deleted their phone number and you can only communicate with them through an app. But I digress. And they were given incorrect information from the AI chatbot. And then ultimately, that incorrect information led to fines, right? Like this particular case was an EU-based company, and so it's for some reason it's more regulated over there, and so like there's very clear paths of when you cross a line and then you get fined, and they did, right? Because the information that the bot gave them was not true. And so, how do you, like, by the way, when they said it wasn't me, it was the computer, that didn't work, right? So, how do you limit your risk? I don't even think, is it possible contractually to limit I don't think it's possible, but maybe I'm learning here. Is it possible to basically write into your agreements, hey, I'm using AI. If it hallucinates, it's not my fault. Does that work? I don't know.
Well, yes, you can say that, and that's in our service attachment for managed AI and the exclusions. There's a disclusion that says, these things hallucinate, it's imperfect, it's emerging, and that's fine for civil liability.
Mm-hmm.
You can contract that,
Mm-hmm.
but what your case you're talking about is a regulatory case. And in the regulatory context, we have what's called a non-delegable duty. Whether you delegated it to someone else or not, you're still responsible for compliance with the regs. And so, in that case, there was no delegation to say, I used my computer to do it. Sounds like the moron attorney who submitted the brief without checking the citation.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in reality, yes, you can, George, mitigate risk from civil liability. And that's why we now recommend to our clients that are rolling out Copilot or any of the agentic voice or other agentic solutions for customers to have our service attachment for managed AI or something equivalent that uniquely addresses the topics and issues like hallucination, like regulatory compliance and other things that are important to delivering AI services that would not be in a traditional managed services contract.
Okay, like I like hypotheticals, sorry, but I'm gonna throw another one at you. Like, all right, you get an AI agenic, basically a bot. Let's call it a bot. You plug it in, it signs into all your tools, and somehow somebody convinces this AI system to do something you didn't expect it to do. Something as simple as reset somebody's password. Turns out they weren't the person. They got your system to make you think they were them and then reset a password that was not meant for them. And then all of a sudden now they've gained access to a system that was not supposed to be accessed. It's not so crazy, right? Like this is something that could happen, probably has happened. But you put that solution into place and you gave it the access. And even though you tried to limit its access, bad outcome showed up. Now what?
Well, under our agreements, I would say the first thing is that's a criminal act of a third party. That's just like a hacking or a breach or a business email compromise or a ransomware attack. It's really no different legally to me. And so I would argue if that was my client under our agreements, that that's a criminal act of third party and all of the issues that result is from that are waived. You can't sue a Monjur client for a criminal act of a third party. They would argue, well, yes, the criminals are there, but you somehow breached or were negligent in how you set the program up. And this is the scary part about why MSPs are getting sued so much. Is because every time something happens, they say, well, yeah, I know that's the criminal actor, but you enabled them to get in. But for the thing that you did or didn't do, we would have been able to keep them out.
So
Or
you left the front door open.
you left the front door open, or you were negligent in the way you advised the client. You're a trusted advisor, you owe them a duty, and you advised them incorrectly. You should have configured them with some other solution than this AI solution that went wrong. But I would say that this hypothetical is going to last another 6 months because they're all going to be AI solutions in the near term. My colleagues with SaaS businesses, I consider you the same. Many of them are selling their current companies and starting over with an AI architecture because they have too much tech debt to shift and they are afraid that they're going to be able to compete with the native AI platforms in their sector. Not an issue for you right now, not an issue for me, but it's out there and it's happening. And so, as you think about if I'm a managed service provider, your infrastructure is going to evolve from public cloud to public RAG and other, infrastructures that are unique to AI. And your service offerings are going to become more AI centric. And the way we interact with the world is going to become increasingly through AI voice agents.
Interesting. So, okay, let's piece all the things that we've talked about so far. MSPs, stop bundling things and don't resell something like Microsoft if you can avoid it. Just connect the dots and do the management part of it as a service. At least that's my recommendation. I don't want to speak for you, Rob, but bottom line is you can get caught into some cash flow related issues if you get squeezed and then you run into other issues after that. But flipping into the other side, hey, it's becoming harder and harder to keep yourself out of the courtroom as an MSP. So what can you do to level the playing field and try and put some speed bumps in place that seem to be not necessarily pointed in your favor, right? Like you almost have to push back a little bit in order to keep it, where it's at because it's coming the other way a lot faster. And then this whole AI thing, well, we can talk about how far it's gone but clearly it's going in the direction it's going in. And at what point does the MSP need to reimagine and reconstruct their business with the technology of today? All
Yeah.
of that sounds about right.
And George, I would say on that point, it starts with a conversation, right? To the customer. What's your strategy? What's your policy? What's your plan around AI? Like for you, I'd have that conversation with you and you'd say none. The MSP have a conversation with me and I say, something more like, I'd like to use it for administrative functions, but the core, client interactions, I want them to be human and authentic, and I want to be able to use the AI to give more time back to those people that are developing and maintaining the relationships and servicing the customers.
I don't argue that point. By the way, my response isn't none. It's I'm going to say the same thing I said back in November. I'm going to say it again now, just for the record. Okay. Whatever I put in place, I don't care if it's a mouse on a wheel, cans and string, or AI. I just want it to be consistent and reliable.
That's
Like
where the
those,
rags come in, George. I think that without a rag, you can never get Gen
can
AI.
you define that? I don't
Yeah,
think
this
people
is a
understand.
rag, and it's interesting, and I'm just learning. I don't profess to be an expert, but rag stands for retrieval augmented generation. So in my, sort of non-technical view, this is the new database layer for the modern software application. This is a way to store in databases so you're not reliant on the AI's terrible memory, but you're also leveraging the Gen AI to interact with, analyze, draft against those data sets that live in those rags. And if you think about, legal deliverables, my vision was that, 3 years ago, we were delivering our services over email with Word documents. With Monjur, we have merged to um, smart hyperlinks from the cloud, which enabled us to dynamically update. And now we're moving into knowledge bases that parse those contracts, analyze them, apply fallback clauses to turn each legal deliverable into an AI app that can walk through with the client in different modes, including a walkthrough mode to go clause by clause, an edit mode where you can do drafting and editing, a negotiate mode where you're going to be able to apply red lines, and a build mode that will allow you to easily build these KBs with all of the indexing, hashing. And so as a lawyer, I'm looking at my role not as delivering the legal agreement anymore, but delivering AI-powered legal document that once you load it into Monjur Loop, you can have it do a number of things, including explain it to you, help you edit it, remind you of areas that might be risky, help you negotiate fallback provisions, all without having to check with your lawyer.
Okay, so let me put that into a George way. Tell me if I got it right. You've pre-programmed the machine with the information that you created, not it created, and then said, work off of my information and compare.
You got it. So instead of the garbage legal agreements that Gen AI drafts, you're getting, you know, curated over 2 decades of legal experience used by 700 MSPs in the space. And so now our Monjur templates are in Loop. Loop is contextually aware of our template libraries.
So, you ever heard of Avalara? They like have to keep up with all these like 50 states and territories with all these
Same
sales
exact
tax.
model, 100%. I know of them. Anrock is the same. I want to, Monjur is the legal app for modern business, just like Anrock and those guys turned sales tax work that used to be done by accountants with pocket protectors now are considered apps that plug in. In the
So,
same way,
so how do
Monjur.
you keep up though? But like I don't know how often new regulate like is it annually? I guess every state, every county, every municipality could be different. But like, at what point do you know when a law has changed in some county, in some state, and then you need to now react off of that? How does that work?
Look, as far as, keeping up to date with the various legal changes, it's an important part of what the Monjur platform is built to do. In many instances, we use least common denominator things on related to consumer protection, like notices around auto renews and those types of things that are increasingly becoming federalized with the FTC's new rules. But our service includes an update service for all state, federal, and international privacy regulations that affect MSPs, and
Mm.
we monitor all of those privacy laws. And when laws come out that affect MSPs, their data processing terms are dynamically updated through the Monjur platform. So this service empowers MSPs to do business with customers that are regulated either based on their vertical industry, like healthcare or financial services, as well as in any geographic vertical, including EU, UK, any
Mm.
particular state in the United States that has a data privacy law. And so that's the way that service is architected, powered by one of the brands that you mentioned, which is one of our clients, LexisNexis, is the platform we use to monitor the laws.
And I would say even the average person who's not a lawyer probably has heard that name somewhere along the line. I mean, I have for
Yeah,
sure.
that's why when I go to court and represent them, I always have good outcomes because everyone in the court knows and has great respect for their organization, which is very well deserved. There's not a client that I could speak more highly of than the Relex Group and the relationship that I've had with them over many decades.
Awesome. So zooming out, right? There's a lot of MSPs who are inventing new things. A lot of the SaaS companies in the sandbox, I call MSP Land the sandbox. They're smart people. They come up with new things. Like it's actually one of the cool reasons why people are even in this business. And so they invent new things, but the challenge is, and maybe it's a multi-threaded challenge is, well, when they invent new things, maybe it's a separate business, maybe it started off in the middle of the business and then they had to break it out. You're always worried about people working for you, then stealing your idea and then creating a competitive solution off of something that you ultimately started. Or even if your customer thinks, and this is part of the wild, wild west of why MSPs always get sued, I think, is their perception is, well, if you built something for me in the delivery of the service that I paid you to do, then I should have that. That's my work. And I should be able to plug that in wherever I want.
Yeah.
I assume these are all things that can be solved by contracts, but there's the practicality of people just do stupid things all the time. And
Well,
like
look, on the issue of, employees stealing your stuff, the trends on that are going against the employer.
against the employer.
Yeah, yeah, we're starting to see now that tremendous hostility to non-solicit, non competition agreements. A lot of shifting mindset on whether that's appropriate
Hmm.
and enforceable in certain jurisdictions. I would say that continues to be an area of huge concern for which I think over time there's not a good um, legal solution. And let me tell you, my partner Julie and I have incubated a lot of technology law firms in our time. And what I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that is, lawyers who have worked for us and spun off on their own. And in a lot of ways, that's to be expected, right? But it is a risk that a founder has to be concerned about. I would say this: it's not unique to you. That's not a reason not to go forward. If you've got a solution that you think is viable, that can help people and can help them better than they're being helped now, then you're on a path to doing something that is probably more rewarding to you than continuing with traditional IT managed services. I say to everybody I know a lot of MSPs that have started SaaS companies. I know no SaaS founders that ever started an MSP.
I think that's true. I think that's true. That's interesting that it's making it harder. How do you protect yourself other than just the time it takes for somebody to walk behind you? I mean,
This is where AI I think is interesting. I kind of see my role now as training loop instead of what I used to do for so many years as training associates.
mm,
So, in a lot of ways, I always said that guy like me with gray hair is going to be fine in AI because I know when it's wrong.
Sure.
It's the ones that don't know when it's wrong that are going to be out of work.
Okay. I like that. Um, for, next 5 years, right? MSPs. You're saying it's getting harder. You're saying that they're getting sued more often. You're saying it's harder to handle the employee side of this, just in general for all businesses. Um, what's the industry look like in 2030 from your guess?
I think, the industry continues to refer to everything that's being done for businesses on a recurring revenue model. So this word has really come to mean very little when you just talk about MSP. But for what we're talking about, George, the MSPs that primarily focus on SMB, that do the core services of IT managed services, cloud and hosting, backup, disaster recovery, um, security services, managed compliance, managed AI, those types of services, they're going to continue to be needed. They're just going to be delivered differently.
Hmm.
And I'm a firm believer in the rise of agentic AI. And if you think about, Loop, it has agents. It's got a comparison agent and an analyze agent and a walkthrough agent and an explain agent and an onboarding agent. Just like in our voice solution, we have a scheduling appointment agent, and we have an onboarding agent, and we have a contract sent agent. We deploy these
Can we
agents.
just can we sorry to cut you over. Can we just call the agent an app? I mean, it sounds like that's what they are. Like the modern day version of what I go to my phone, I go to the app store, I need something for scheduling, I just download an app. It's what it sounds like the agent is.
Actually, no. The
No?
agent is
Okay.
not an app. It's a configuration of the app and the management of the app to have the app itself emulate work that humans do. That's the
Okay.
agentic aspect of it. It's used as software, of course, but what makes it an agent is its functionality.
But it's displacing an app then.
It is displacing a one point, a SaaS 1.0 app with a
Hmm.
SaaS 2.0 that's architected on AI architecture.
Okay. I'm glad I'm defining this, right? Like we now we're getting into like the nitty gritty, right? Okay. So instead of you having 8,000 SaaS apps, you're displacing them with an AI that does multiple pieces under the same umbrella.
That's
Did I
right.
say
And
that right?
yeah, and MSPs, instead of the work that they're doing today, are managing, training, building knowledge bases, tweaking, supervising, instructing uh, a workforce of agents.
Hmm. Okay.
Those agents can accept phone calls for support. Those agents can make phone calls to schedule appointments. Those agents can have, quarterly business reviews with smaller clients that don't warrant a full human to visit with them every time. It's really going to be a wave of automation, George, that we haven't seen in our lifetime is going to occur in the next 5 years. And 6 months, as you've pointed out right now, is a full cycle.
Okay. I wasn't wrong. I guessed that. I guess I did that. I did this. Okay. Full cycle every 6 months. That's interesting. So back to a comment you made literally in this podcast. That doesn't exactly keep the relationship part right, or doesn't cater to that. So I can imagine an MSP saying, well, if they're small enough, we never talk to them. It's just all bots. Like I can see that maybe not going well.
I totally agree. You cannot use AI to manage the relationship aspect in business. I think most businesses will not be at that level. I think particularly small businesses can use AI to do things they're not doing today that they think they should be doing, like calling the client and making sure that they receive something, calling the client to, uh, you know, let them know that you're waiting on them for something, not to have a meaningful uh, personal or business discussion. The whole role of the AI is to automate routine work that's not client facing, so you could spend more time in person with your client at football games, at lunches, at their house, in your backyard. That's the power of AI for business, is making it more human at the point of attack.
Okay. I think that was an important sentence. If we clip anything out of this episode, it's going to be right there. I think people need to remember that part is so important. They don't do that part. It's a big gap. I don't think it ends well.
Hey, relationships and brands endure the AI revolution.
Okay.
So don't do anything in your business that impacts relationship, and don't expect AI tools to build new relationships for you. You have to build a RevOps team for that.
Okay. You hear? I hope everybody's hearing it loud and clear. You probably, other than somebody who's literally just AI is their whole business, although it's a large part of what you've incorporated into yours. I'm going to call you Mr. AI. You are the cheerleader for AI, at least in the people I talk to on a regular. It's not a bad thing. But
George, if you're
still,
spending any money on legal, which I know you don't because you're the smartest lawyer you know, but if you ever have a legal project and you want to see Monjur Loop in action, I'll handle a project for you for free and just show you the
okay.
capability.
All right. Hey, I didn't say I'm a non-believer, but I'm a definitely prove it guy. That's
Uh,
for sure.
and I wouldn't expect you any other way. And if we weren't on a television show, I'd show you right now.
I believe it. You know what? Maybe I will take you up on that. Um, you guys have been out and about for sure. I've seen your team definitely more, prevalent at, all over the place, on the road, etc. So maybe you can give people a quick clue on where they're going to see you in the next little while, and then if they want to get more information, where do they go and who do they talk to?
So yeah, so we are headed to PAX 8 in Colorado. We're excited. Actually, that's my favorite show. I mean, I think as far as like amenity level and partying and just fun, I definitely think PAX 8 was the best show last year. Your party's not included in that. Your parties are always so fun. Um, and then we'll be at SAS Academy in New Orleans. Monjur's the exclusive legal service provider for the SAS Academy's 800 members now. We're very proud to be there. We'll be in Quebec soon for SureWeb's event. Monjur recently went live on the SureWeb marketplace. So thank you for that. So we're out and about and love to see you. If you want to check us out on the web, we're at Monjur, MONJUR.com, on LinkedIn. If you're looking for me, you could find me at Attorney Robert Scott. You'll see old pictures of me with way more hair and less gray.
Thank you for spelling that, by the way. I was about to do that because like it's unique spelling, the company name, but you got there. All right, guys. That was an interesting session. I could like this is the type of stuff I talk to Rob about when we're at the bar, to be
That's
honest.
what I said. This is just like sitting at the bar, which is always a pleasure, always informative, always enjoyable. It's not quite.
I love hearing about the actual cases, right? Like, hey, something went wrong. This is how it went. I'm all that it's like a TV show for me. It's
That's
just
why every lawyer tells war stories. It's the only interesting thing they have to say.
yeah, it's like Suits, but MSP edition.
Yeah.
Uh always pleasure, by the way. Can't wait to run into you.
Where are you going next?
I feel like I'm all over the place, but I'll be in Denver. I may not be at at the same place you'll be at, but maybe we can connect, and then again going to Dublin, and then be in Tampa, and that's like the next 30 days, and then after that, I think the schedule like slowly creeps into machine gun mode as we get towards the fall, but that's also when football season starts, and it's also an
Well,
interesting
when
time.
when you announce your strategy for football games,
Hmm.
please include Monjur on the list of potential sponsorship partners because, as I mentioned to you, we're moving more into experiential partnerships. with other vendors, sponsoring their road shows, sponsoring their, VIP events, because where the ICPs align, it's a better relationship building platform. We again think that, we're using these events to build relationships. So
I couldn't agree with you more, and we'll definitely keep you in the loop. Guys, this session was recorded. We're going to post it on all the normal channels, but you'll definitely find it at mspinitiative.com under sessions, and it'll be on YouTube and the podcatchers. Some good clips in here. I might send you the video, Rob, so you can cut it up with your AI bot, something.
send it to me, bud.
I will. I will
I
definitely send you
appreciate it.
the raw footage for that. Guys, check out Monjur, Monjur, and Rob Scott. I just love talking to him. I hope he doesn't send me a bill because I talk to him,
No bills.
hopefully not too much, but
And I'm gonna tell you this, I've asked you way more questions over the years than you've asked me. So let's put it like that.
okay. So I feel like I've definitely contributed to the conversation then.
For sure.
Awesome. Talk to you soon. Everybody, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Safe travels, my friend. Catch you on the road.
Thanks, George. Talk
All
to you
right.
soon.
Cheers.
Bye.